Okay, take 3. Hopefully it's okay this time. Hopefully there's no choppiness. Because if it ain't working this time, I'm going to just have to call it a day. Like, I will probably be like, all right, it just ain't going to work tonight. But, yeah, we're going to hope attempt 3 works here. And if everything is all good, which so far right now it seems to be going well, we finna find out if it's gonna last. But yeah, this is round 3. If it don't work here, I'm gonna just leave it. Like real talk, I'm gonna just leave it and be like, all right, we'll have to have this discussion tomorrow when things feel the need to work the way they're supposed to work. You know, could have had it tonight, but come on. Could have had it tonight, but you know, it could be a tomorrow thing. Whoa, that's not what I meant to do. This is tedious to have to set this up 3 separate times and just hope it works. But alright, attempt 3. Am I here? Am I good? No lag? No choppiness? Everybody can hear me? We're all good? I just want to know, before we get into a discussion, at least for now, it looks all good. So yeah, I'm just hoping there's no choppiness, no lagging, nothing bothering, because I don't exactly know why that was happening earlier on. So hopefully it is okay. Hopefully we are good, and hopefully we can have a discussion about this upcoming game, because this is quite the interesting game. So are we good? I just want to make sure. I'm just trying to just doing things here myself to just make sure. I think we're good, because you know, a lot of motion could definitely mess up with the video. If I'm able to do this and everything's okay and there's no lags, then we are good to go. No lag immediately buffers. That's what I love. That's what I love. But we good. It seems like we are good, because at least for my side, I can finally see the screen. So I can see the screen. I can see you guys. I was barely able to see your comments, so it seems like we're good to go. At least for as good as it usually is. It doesn't seem like it's having any problems. So with that being said, I guess we can get started. So welcome everybody. What's going on, Ravens flock? What's going on to everybody in the chat? Appreciate you guys stopping by for this discussion, because hey, it's definitely something we're gonna have to talk about. Monday Night Football ended. Seattle was able to get the upset against Philadelphia. Didn't see that coming. You get a Drew Lock masterclass and a clutch drive from him. Did not see that coming. But with that ending, Week 15 comes to an end and Week 16 approaches. The season's coming to an end, guys. Like, we're right here, man. The season is coming to an end. You know, sometimes, you know, when you think about the season, sometimes it's a situation where when the season starts early on, it's just like, okay, it's just week 1. It's just week 2. You know, it's just the first month of the season. It feels like it's going slow. But then once you get past that first month, you get into the rest of it, it becomes something that's just like so fast. So all of a sudden we find ourselves in Week 16, and we've got quite the matchup here, Ravens flock. This is, like the title says, it's a battle for supremacy. This game has a lot of implications. Both teams right now have the number 1 seed currently in their separate conference, and both teams need to win to maintain that number 1 spot in their conference. Now, Baltimore doesn't lose that. I don't think Baltimore lose that spot per se. If they actually no, because if the Dolphins win and the Ravens lose, the Dolphins may have the tie. Wait, they lost to the Titans. I don't think they have the tiebreak anymore. They don't. They lost to the Titans, so they don't have the tiebreak anymore. It's possible Baltimore still holds on to the number 1 seed heading into that Miami game if they were to lose. As for the Niners, I think no matter what, if they take a loss, I don't think they lose the number 1 spot, because they already have the tiebreak against both Dallas and Philadelphia. and Dallas is back on top of that 2 seed. So I don't think the Niners will fall off of the 1 seed with the loss here. However, that does bring them closer. That does bring them closer to that. So, yeah, both teams don't want to take a loss here. Both teams are looking to get that 1 seed. And both teams have already clinched playoff spot. But the Niners have not only clinched the playoff spot, they won the AFC West. So with their victory last week, they won the NFC West. Last week, they were able to get the victory over the Cardinals. They officially knocked out the Cardinals, I believe, and then clinched the NFC West title. So, yeah, they got that on lockdown. They won the division. They've made the playoffs. Now they're just trying to get the 1 seed. For us, we've officially made the playoffs. But we haven't won the division yet. Cleveland's still on our tail. Cincinnati's still there. So, yeah, well, we haven't won the division yet. But Baltimore could potentially clinch the AFC North this week if Cleveland was to lose to the Texans and the Ravens beat the Niners on Christmas Day. If that was to occur, Baltimore officially clinch the AFC North, and at that point, they'll probably be 1 win away from getting the number 1 seed, heading into the Dolphins game where they could have potentially clinch on New Year's Eve the number 1 seed. So we will see how that's going to work out. You know, at the end of the day, we'll see. But yeah, I'm gonna get into some of your comments before I actually start going into the topic of discussion for how this matchup could be. What's going on, guys? How you guys doing? What NBA and NFL team should I support? I'm from Marion, Alabama, and I want winning teams. Oh, okay. I can't say support your home team. I mean, it's easy to just sit back and talk about being a bandwagon fan, and you could look for teams that have had success. Like, if you're looking for teams, again, right now, if you're looking for winning teams, you would have to look at some of the recent winners. People would still want to, flock towards the Lakers. People would want to flock towards in the NBA. They would look towards the Lakers. They would look towards the Nuggets right now because those are the 2 recent winners. Some may look towards the Bucks because Milwaukee's the last team out of the Eastern Conference that won. So you would look towards them. I mean, if you're looking for a winning team in terms of championships, you're probably going to go after the recent ones. If you want the whole resume of a storied franchise, you'd probably look towards the Lakers if you want to watch Laker basketball. You could join me as a Heat fan, but we haven't won the championship since 2013. We've been to the finals 3 times since then, but we haven't won a championship since then. We're still trying to get that one, but I mean, it is what it is. And that's for an NFL team. Right now, everyone's going to try to lean more towards, if you're just new, people are probably going to lean towards Kansas City. They're this apparent new era team that's trying to take over and create a dynasty. So I guess you could look towards Kansas City. Other than that, from the NFC side, I'm not sure. People, again, the Rams are trying to fight for. They're one of the recent winners. Tampa Bay's one of the recent winners, but Tom Brady's not there anymore. And I don't know how many people fully believe in the Rams getting it done. Philly got to the Super Bowl last year, so people may look at that, but who knows? There's a lot of teams. Honestly, just look for whatever preference you have. Like, if there's a certain player that you like, or if there's just maybe a certain color, just a certain thing about this team that you like, feel free to do so. But, I mean, it's tough to sit back and talk about winning teams in terms of how far are you going, in terms of winning championships or just in terms of teams that are being successful, getting to the playoffs and competing for a title. Because we got quite a few. Thoughts on Draymond Green? All I gotta say is I hope he gets the help he needs. A lot of players, even KD, who's been Draymond's former teammate, said he wasn't doing this type of things when I was there. So, and he said he hope he gets the help he needs. I just hope Draymond gets the help he needs because he can't be doing what he's doing on the court. At this point, the NFL has just gotten sick and tired of it. It feels like if he comes back and continues to do this, he's just done. They're kicking him out of the league. He just cannot continue to do that because when player safety becomes a concern, that's when the league is going to step in. And until Draymond Green can get that part fixed, it's a problem because you get that situation with the Jordan Poole punch to the stomping on Sabonis to choking out Rudy Gobert to now smacking Yusuf Nurkic in the face. It's become repetitive, and the league needs to just stop all of this now. Let's go, Flock. Let's get the win this week. We'll see. It'll be a tough matchup. Ravens' run defense needs a lot of improvement and trash. I wouldn't say the Ravens' run defense is trash, but it's certainly the weakness. We've seen worse run defense. Like, again, if you're a team like Dallas, for some reason Dallas just cannot stop the run When teams start getting physical with them and they start running that ball, it's game over for the Cowboys. And in some cases, you can say that about Philadelphia too, though I would say their secondary is more of the weakness. So I wouldn't say the Ravens' run defense is trash. I would say it's more so the weakness of this team. If there's any weakness on that defense, it would be their run defense. It's not the worst. It's more so middle of the road. I think they're leaning more towards middle of the road type run defense. They're not the worst, but they're middle of the road. They don't let like guys go off for 200 plus yards rushing. But you'll see occasionally there'll be a guy that can get 100 yards rushing on this defense. So that's how it is. Only team that ain't frauds are the Niners. Others too inconsistent, I guess. But I mean, even the Niners themselves have lost 3 straight games. And one can argue that if they lose one of their key pieces, if they lose a Christian McCaffrey or a Deebo Samuel, everything's gone. Because the minute Deebo Samuel and Trent Williams both missed time due to injury, the Niners lost 3 straight games. So basically, if the Niners lose one of their pieces, he just misses time, all of a sudden everything collapsed. So it feels like the Niners, every piece has to be there. If one of the pieces is gone, that could be a collapse for the Niners. And that's a scary thought. They definitely do need to improve it, but I don't know how they're going to look to do so. Last week of the year always be slow. True, especially around the holidays. Question might sound dumb. How concerned would you be about winning this game and then we have to see them again later? I've seen many times that when 2 teams play against each other twice, that usually... Well, first of all, you can't just assume we're going to see them. We're not guaranteed to make the Super Bowl, and neither are they. So you can't just make that a concern. I don't have any concerns. If we were to win this game, we were to win this game. But there's no concerns about seeing them down the road because our team isn't guaranteed to make the Super Bowl, and neither is their team. At the end of the day, the playoffs are what the playoffs are. We've seen plenty of upsets. We got upsetted in 2019, so we're not guaranteed to get to the Super Bowl and see these guys again, and they're not guaranteed to get out the NFC. The team who wins first loses the second time because the team who loses first from their mistake, while teams who... Again, it's not a guarantee that these 2 teams are going to see each other. It's not always a guarantee that these 2 teams are going to see each other. It's not a guarantee. We've seen that happen. We've seen that happen in the past, but it's not a guarantee. It's not a guarantee at the end of the day. So that does have to be put up. So I'm not going to be concerned about statistics and how things are in the past because we're not guaranteed to meet them there. We're not. So I can't be sitting back and think of that. 49ers is going to beat the Ravens like Denver did the Ravens the year they won the Super Bowl, but it's okay. I don't know if that's going to be the case. I mean, maybe we get blown out. I'm not sure. Because in that case, when we lost to Denver in 2012, the one thing that has to be mentioned is that was the game that happened after we had fired Cam Cameron and promoted Jim Caldwell. So the first week of having Jim Caldwell be our offensive coordinator, everything kind of just did not work out immediately. So it wasn't an easy fix. So I don't know if I can sit back and just assume the Niners are going to beat us. Because, again, we've been a relatively consistent team in terms of who we are as an identity for pretty much the whole season. So I can't sit back and say it's going to be similar to the Denver game. Because the Denver game, you changed entire different offensive play calling. So that changed up everything. Whereas we've kind of been the same. Both Eagles and Dallas tie. Eagles win the tiebreaker as long as they don't lose to the Giants and Cardinals. That Cardinals game will decide the division winner. We'll see what happens with that. Browns going to win the division? Hey, anything could happen. The Browns haven't won the division ever, so, like, at least this iteration of the Cleveland Browns have not won the division once. Since they came back to Cleveland in 1999, they have yet to win the division. Maybe this is the year, but I'm not going to take that type of prediction. You think we should move on from Stanley after the season? Again, I keep telling you, man, they're not going to just give him up for free. They're not going to give him up for free. And then you bring up a trade, and I'm not even sure if he's going to get trade pieces because I don't know what team's going to try to take on that contract. Before we could even talk about trade pieces, the number one thing the Ravens are going to have to look to do, which, again, Stanley can't have any sort of complaint. The number one thing they're going to have to do this offseason with Stanley is restructure his contract. Before we could talk about him being traded, they have to restructure that contract. So I'm telling you, bro, you keep charged. You come here every week talking about trade this guy, cut him, trade him. Stop it. That should not be the focus. The number one thing that needs to be discussed is when are they going to restructure his contract? That's the one thing. You're not trading that. No one's taking on that contract. I've said this to you 1,000 times, dude. Nobody is taking that contract on. If there's any way this is going to happen, the first thing you're going to have to do is restructure his contract. And we're going to have to do that anyway because we got people we got to pay. So his contract has to be restructured. There's no way you could trade him with that contract. You keep saying get rid of him. You cut him, that's going to be a huge hit on our cap. Then when we can't sign free agents, people are going to get mad at the cost again. So you can't cut him, and you can't trade him with that contract. The number one thing they got to look to do is restructure his contract. Like enough with the trade talks, enough with the cut talks. You ask me the same question every single live stream. Do you think we should trade him? Do you think we should cut him? And I tell you the same thing. We can't do it. We legitimately can't do it. I've literally told you 1,000 times we cannot do it because if we cut him, it's going to be a huge cap on our free agency market. That's going to be a lot of dead money, and it's going to stop us. Well, if you cut Ronnie Stanley, we won't be able to afford somebody like that. We won't be able to afford any of the players in free agency if you cut Stanley. And if you trade him, you could try to, but with that contract, knowing his injury history, no one's going to trade for him. The number one thing the Ravens have to look for when it comes to Ronnie Stanley is looking to restructure his contract because they have guys they have to sign. So enough of the trade talk, enough of the cut talk. It's not going to happen. It doesn't even make sense to think it's going to happen. What they need to do is restructure the man's contract. And Stanley's not going to have any ground to stand on because he hasn't played up to the level of the contract. So they have to restructure that contract. So enough, bro. You keep asking me this every week and it's the same answer. They're not going to cut him. They're not going to trade him. They're going to have to restructure his contract. That's the only thing they could do at this point. If they're able to somehow, again, if this dude DeCosta's able to finesse some team and actually trade this dude, I don't want to hear anybody ever say a negative thing about Eric DeCosta. My mind went blank for a second. If DeCosta's actually able to trade this dude, no one's saying a negative thing about this move forward. With that contract, no team's going to be dumb enough to take that. And any team that's dumb enough to do that should fire their GM immediately. Ingram is trying to get signed back with us. I don't know if that's the case or not. I haven't heard any reports. If that's the case, it is what it is. Ravens can't stop the run. That's definitely their weakness. That running back is going to run all over them. I hope they don't get too tired. Again, it's a game. They're not going to be leaning on Christian McCaffrey the entire game when they have all those weapons to utilize. The Niners are not a one-dimensional team. They're going to attack the Ravens in several different aspects. And the Ravens are going to have to be focused. And we'll talk about that. Stanley is a disaster. He's going to get Lamar hurt. He gave up 7 hurries, 3 quarterback hits, and a sack. Yeah, he's been terrible. So I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do about that. He's just been inconsistent, and it hasn't been a positive thing for us. Yeah, they definitely have to look to draft a tackle in the upcoming draft. Matter of fact, just draft a bunch of offensive linemen. Derrick Henry Wash, he has 16 carries for 9 yards, 0.6 carry versus Houston. Again, it's not exactly in the best of situations in Tennessee. That offensive line has been declining. Injuries have been catching up, and nothing's really happening there. I don't really care who you put behind there. There's not much you can do when you're stuck with the circumstances. There was even moments when people thought, when people were saying Devontae Adams was washed because he wasn't getting any production with Jimmy G. So there's really nothing you can do in this situation. The Woods beating the Niners in the NFC, they're guaranteed to make the Super Bowl. That's not how it always works. That is not how it always works, bro. That is not how it always works. There's a thing called upsets, and we've seen upsets happen plenty of time throughout history. No one expected the 2007 Giants, nor did they expect the 2011 Giants to get to the Super Bowl. Everyone sat back and talked about how the 15-1 Green Bay Packers were guaranteed to make the Super Bowl because they just came off of winning the championship. They go 15-1, have a better season than they did in 2010, and Aaron Rodgers was MVP. Eli Manning and that defense went into Lambeau Field in the divisional round and upset that team. So there's no guarantee that the Niners won't get beat. They're not guaranteed to make the Super Bowl. I don't know why I keep making these assumptions in sports. The teams are just guaranteed to make it here or just guaranteed to make it there. That's not how this works. That's not how this works. That's why we play the playoffs. If teams were guaranteed to go the distance, there's no point in the postseason. So no, the Niners aren't guaranteed to make the Super Bowl. If there's any team I would look at, people aren't talking about it, people aren't saying anything, and I'm telling you to look at them right now. Take a look at the LA Rams. If there's any team that I think could potentially pull off the upset against the Rams, it is against the Niners, it's the Rams. That is a divisional rival that knows and matches up well with the Niners. And people can sit back and trash the Rams all they want. For much of the season, Matthew Stafford has been hurt. For much of the season, Cooper Kupp has been hurt. For much of the season, they didn't have a running game. All three of these issues have been solved, and they've been starting to win games and putting themselves in a position to make the playoffs. If there's any team people need to start looking at, it is that Rams team. I'm telling you right now, Stafford's playing some of the best football we've seen since the year they won the Super Bowl. They've got a dangerous duo with Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua. They finally have a running game, and that defense is starting to get back into form. So y'all can sit back and assume that the Rams are done. I don't look at the Eagles. I don't look at the Cowboys. I'm not a believer in the Eagles. I'm not a believer in the Eagles because they've been like this all season. I said at some point you got to show me some convincing wins. You cannot play bad for one half and then have to make up for it in the second half. That's what the 2020 Steelers did, and we saw what happened to them. Rams done it, saw the Ravens. That's cool, Nikolai. You can make that assumption. Feel free to. People thought the 9-7 Giants were done until they beat the 15-1 Packers. You assume that they're done. As long as you got a chance to make the playoffs, anything can happen. But you assume that. People thought the Bengals were going to get smoked in Kansas City. What happened? They beat them and went to the Super Bowl. So you're free to assume the Rams are done. You're free to assume the Ravens are done. At the end of the day, these games have to be played. And upsets happen all the time. But you make the assumption that the Rams and Ravens are done. And we'll see how it works out. Not saying those guys are guaranteed to win either, but it's the playoffs for a reason. And again, I've been saying this, watching the Rams over the last couple weeks get healthy. I've been saying this. The Eagles, I'm not a believer in the Eagles. The Cowboys, I've been very adamant. I don't believe the Cowboys can beat the Niners, whether they're at home or on the road. I don't believe in them. The Niners, I say they're the best team in the NFC, arguably the best team in the NFL. So I've been saying that. But I'm also looking at these other teams. The Lions are a team that, again, I'm not fully sure whether or not to trust, so I don't put them there. But when it comes to the Rams and what I've been seeing with them for the last couple weeks, the fact that no one's talking about the Rams getting healthy and starting to win games at the right time, that's dangerous. They'll talk about how dangerous the Bills are, but they won't talk about how dangerous the Rams are now that Cooper Kupp's healthy and they have a dynamic duo in Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua, and Matthew Stafford's playing some of the best football he played since he helped that Rams team win the Super Bowl. So I'm just saying, the Rams would be my pick. But again, the Rams have to get to, not my pick to get to the Super Bowl, the Rams would be the team I look at in the NFC that could potentially pull off the upset. I don't think the Cowboys beat the Niners. I don't think the Eagles beat the Niners. I don't think the Lions are at that stage yet. The Bucs are just there to have fun. Anybody else in the playoffs other than the Rams in that NFC matchup, I think the Rams are the one team I look at that I say they could potentially pull off the upset against the Niners. That's it. Other than that, I don't think the Niners have any other team that can beat them, whether it's at home or on the road. That's just what I'm saying. But that's just my statement, and we'll see how it works out. At the end of the day, I still pick the Niners to get to the Super Bowl. I expect that to be the case. But I am looking out for the Rams because that's the team I'm sitting back and saying they could potentially ruin everything and potentially upset this team. I'm so tired about people crying about Ronnie. We're going to be good. We got this. 49ers going down on Christmas. I can't wait because, everyone's going to pick the Niners. I mean, hey, man, it's cool to feel positive, but if you've ever been in this stream, whether it's the games or just random live streams, Charles has never been a positive individual. He's been negative since day one. He's embraced that. That's just who he is. So he's never going to say a positive thing about the team. That's pretty much what he does. He embraces the negativity, and that's his thing. Yeah, I don't think Ingram's coming back. Are you going to stream Dolphins Cowboys? Potentially. Potentially. Actually, let me see. When does Dolphins Cowboys play? Let me see. That's a 4:25 game on Sunday, and it's expected to play on Fox. You know what? Let me look at the schedule for Sunday games because we play on Monday night, so there is a Sunday game I could probably stream if I have time. Saints, Rams, no. Bengals, Steelers, not even remotely close to being interested in the Saturday games. All the 2 Saturday games I don't care for. I'm not streaming that. Commanders, Jets, no. Lions, Vikings, no. Browns, Texans, maybe. Packers, Panthers, no. Seahawks, Titans, no. You know what? I'll probably go with the Cowboys, Dolphins. So you probably may see me stream the Cowboys, Dolphins. Did the Miami Dolphins scare you? They're definitely a team you got to take notice of. I don't think you should just overwrite them. People are going to call them soft. Again, there's been moments where we've seen cracks. There's been moments where we've seen physical teams dominate these guys and ultimately take them out of their own their own rhythm, but they're still a formidable foe. I think they're still a team that can be dangerous. I don't like what I see from the Dolphins defensively. That's my issue with them. Offensively, we know what they're able to do. We know what they're capable of. We know that's a track team. We know when Tyreek Hill's there, he's the most dangerous person on the field. Defense has to focus on him. We know what Jalen Waddle can do. We know what Mostert can do. We know the weapons they have. And two, at the end of the day, if there's anything he can do, he can get the ball to these playmakers. So if everything stays on schedule for the Dolphins, they could definitely be a team that can blow someone out. It's when you get physical with them and take them off script that now all of a sudden they struggle. But they're still a formidable foe. Though I don't like their defense. So I'll definitely say that. But I wouldn't sit back and say the Dolphins scare me. There's no team in the league that scares me specifically. There's no team in the league that scares me. At this stage of the season, if you're talking about teams that scare you, you might as well just quit now. You want the challenge. Like, bro, especially as a Ravens fan, why are we talking about scare? Aren't we, you know what, we're not the same team. Maybe this is a new iteration of fans that weren't there when we had to do those battles in New England. Maybe you weren't there to see that. So maybe you're assuming being scared of the Dolphins or being scared of another team. I know this ain't the same Ravens, so maybe you're not used to that. But again, as a Ravens fan, I've seen us go to war in battles in some of these situations. Even if we've ended up losing, I've seen us have to go to Heinz Field for an AFC title game. I've seen us have to go into Foxborough multiple times in the playoffs. In back-to-back years, we went to the AFC title game in Foxborough. We suffered that heartbreaking loss, came back a year later, beat them, went to the Super Bowl and win. We went into Peyton Manning's house in Denver, being a huge underdog. That was a team that blew us out by 17 in the regular season. We went into their house and played one of the greatest playoff games I've ever seen. And we found a way to win. I don't fear any team. I don't fear Kansas City. I don't fear Buffalo. At this stage of the game, you know what your team is. You know what those teams are. It's a competitive matchup. There's no team that fear. There's no team right now. Be it the Niners, none of them. I don't have a fear for any of these teams. I don't. At this point, you go into the playoffs and you compete. If the team loses, so be it. The team loses. But there's nobody to fear. If you're sitting back talking about you're scared of a team, you're already guaranteed to lose. If you're talking about fear factors at this stage, you might as well not even show up for the playoffs because you're going to get beat. You can't be talking about fear at this stage of the game. At this stage of the game, you're talking about fear. You might as well just quit because you're going to, the minute you start talking about fear, you're going to collapse in the playoffs. So no, I'm not going to sit back and talk about a fear factor here. I understand that we as fans are worried, but we're stuck with Ronnie for now. True. Later, me and my friend are going to be good. I mean, it is what it is. Lamar is 18-1 against the NFC, so at the end of the day, the team is what they are. So you take what you take. Chiefs would cook the Niners. Of course, as a Chiefs fan, you would say that. But again, I would not say that. I would not say that. Boss, you can be the Chiefs fan as much as you want, bro. That receiving core is going to cost you guys from getting another title. Watching Kadarius Toney get the ball put right in his hands, juggle it, and it gets picked off. And watching Mahomes, for the first time we've ever seen in his career, he's been spazzing out on multiple occasions because he's getting tired of this crap. And then Travis Kelce has not played up to the level we know Travis Kelce can play like. The offense itself is very suspicious. But of course, as a Chiefs fan, you want to say that. Feel free to. I know what Mahomes is capable of. I know what Travis Kelce is capable of. I know what Andy Reid's capable of, and the defense is playing great. But that receiving core is going to cost you guys from getting another ring. Ja's doing his thing. I know it's his first game back. Glad to see Ja playing basketball again. Hopefully we won't have any other incidents with him. Being gone for 25 games really hurt his team, and I know he's just glad to be on the court playing basketball again. Watch out, Rams, Bills. It's almost never the 1-2 seed. That is true. It's almost never the 1-2 seed. Well, I mean, I guess technically, maybe the NFC and the AFC, it's usually been the 1 or 2 seed. Because most of the times it's been the Patriots as a 1 or 2 seed that's gone on the way. And now Kansas City's been to the AFC Championship game 5 straight years. And they've been the 1 or 2 seed. And once again, they've gone. So I can't say that in the NFC. In the AFC, it's usually been the 1 or 2 seed. One of the rare times it hasn't been the 1 or 2 seeds has been Cincinnati, us, when we went on that Super Bowl run. It's not a lot of moments where you get the lower teams that actually go the distance in the AFC. It's usually in the NFC when that happens. We have to play a perfect game in order to beat the 49ers. I wouldn't say we have to play a perfect game, but we do have to be on point. And I'll probably speak more on it once I get into it. What's going on, Sam? Appreciate you stopping by, man. Ravens can't even win a game without Lamar. I'm not trying to think about winning without Lamar. I'm not trying to think about that. Right now the man's healthy. He's been healthy throughout the season. I'm not trying to play what ifs. I've been saying it for weeks now after the Bills-Eagles game. I said if they were to make the playoffs, I would want to see no part of them. They would have played real top teams. If you're afraid of teams heading into the playoffs, why are you there in the first place? Like, what is this fear factor? You just want an easy path to the Super Bowl and you just assume you're going to win a ring like that? What's with this fear factor? I can tell you right now, there's not a single player, coach, personnel in that locker room that's afraid of any team in the National Football League. If you want to, as a fan, want to sit back and be scared of teams, feel free to do so. We're in week 16. That fear factor nonsense is gone. If we're sitting here at week 8, sure, why not? But you're in week 16, your team's already going to the playoffs no matter what, and you're talking about fear. All right, don't even show up. If the team has that type of mindset, don't even show up for the playoffs because you're going to get beat easily. What team under the radar in the AFC are you looking at? For sure, obviously the Bills. I think the Bills definitely right now, they're not in the playoffs, but everyone is looking at the Bills as a team that could be incredibly dangerous if they sneak into the postseason. That's definitely the number one team that's under the radar. The number 2 team that's under the radar is the Cleveland Browns because they've been able to win football games no matter who the quarterback is. They're 9-5 and they've started 4 different quarterbacks this year. That defense is putting them in position to win time and time and time again. That cannot be ignored. That is the formula that works in playoff games. It doesn't always get you to the title, but a defense that always keeps you in it and gives you an opportunity to win, that's a dangerous team. So I look at the Browns and I look at the Bills and say those are 2 teams in the AFC that I'm definitely looking at. They're definitely under the radar, but the Bills are starting to make their rise again. The Rams are good and will make the playoffs, but the team that might be the dark horse is the Bills. I hope they don't make the playoffs. They make some noise if they do. I want them to make the playoffs. I want it to be more competitive. I want the best players in the postseason. That's what the playoffs is for. We don't watch 17 games to hope the worst teams make the playoffs. We want to see the biggest players make it. We've lost a lot of talent in the AFC. I'm not trying to have a situation where you're looking at it and you're getting like, okay, you obviously Lamar's already clinched. You know Mahomes is going to be there. Tua's probably going to be there. I want Josh Allen there too. You got some of the best young quarterback in the league on the AFC side. I want these guys to go at it. As a football fan, I want that. I'm not going to hope the Bills don't make the playoffs. I hope they do. You know who I don't want to make the playoffs? The Steelers. With the way they've played right now, it would probably do them better if they don't make the playoffs. And if they get a record under 500, it might actually lead to some change. Something Pittsburgh fans have wanted for years now. I'm just saying, I want to see Josh Allen in the playoffs. I want to see the best players in the postseason competing. That's just me. I'd rather play the Chiefs in the playoffs than the Bills. I don't care who we play in the playoffs. The goal is to win. Chiefs, Bills, Niners, I don't care. Win the game. I'm not here to talk about I'd rather play this team than that team. It's the playoffs. You want to play the best. How can you sit there and say you're the best team in the league if you duck them up? You know, I'm not even going to get into that. Y'all can sit back and talk about teams you want to duck and hope you don't play. I want to play the very best. Because if we're going to sit here and pump our chest about our team, and then all of a sudden you just go through a record where you haven't faced off against anybody major, how's that going to look? You know people use those as in debates as well. They always use those in debates. I don't think the Rams will beat the Niners. The Niners own them. They won 8 of the last 11 against them. Again, I said they're the biggest threat. I've picked the Niners to win the NFC and get to the Super Bowl. I don't think the Niners are losing, but I'm just saying they're a threat. And they're a threat that needs to be, focused and emphasized. Let's not forget the last time the Niners and Rams met up was in the NFC title game, and what happened? The Rams won the game. Let's not forget that. That's a team with playoff experience that's won a championship. Do not underestimate that. The Niners are beatable. They make mistakes too. It's impossible to play a flawless game. That is true. That is true. Bucks winning the division. I hope so. I picked them to win the division, and I believe in Baker Mayfield to get it done with those weapons. Despite the weakness with the O-line, I'm still very optimistic about our chances this year, and I'm normally pessimistic nowadays. It is what it is. Dolphins ain't bad. The Dolphins have no weaknesses. I would not sit back and say the Dolphins don't have weaknesses. I know you're just trolling, but I mean, that's something someone would actually take seriously. That's why people scared, because those games that you're talking about, the Ravens are always keyword underdogs. I don't care if you're underdogs or the favorite. You want to win a Super Bowl, do your job. What is with this nonsense? I don't care for the underdogs or the favorites. Do your job. You can't be sitting here all year talking about you want to get a ring, and then all of a sudden when you got to go in the playoffs and play some of these top teams, you want to start ducking the smoke. What type of fan base gets that soft they want to duck the smoke? I want to face the best teams. I want to prove that we can beat the best. The last time we played, or the last time we made it to the Super Bowl, guess what we had to do to get out of the AFC? We had to beat the best. You had to go to Peyton Manning's house. You had to go to Tom Brady's house. You had to outplay them and outperform them. We earned our ticket to the Super Bowl that year. That's what I want to see. I'm not trying to duck these teams. I don't care if we're underdogs or favorites. I'm not trying to duck this team. If you're sitting here scared, don't even bother watching the playoffs. It's as simple as that. We're in week 16. We have 3 weeks left in the season. If you're sitting here talking about fear factors, by all means, don't watch the postseason. I want to go up against the best. If our team can't beat the best, we don't deserve to be champions. Simple as that. Just as simple as that. If you can't beat the best, you don't deserve to beat the champions. We just need to be a higher seed than the Chiefs, at least. In the bank, we will beat them. I don't fear Miami at all, home or away. We'll see what happens, man. We'll see what happens. It's hard to beat a team that wants revenge and you beat them the last time they played, even if it's a different team and they both got number 1 seeds. It's difficult, but it's not like it can't be done. Remember, Miami is the same team we was blowing out last year. The only reason we lost that game was blown coverage by Kyle Hamilton and a rookie, Brandon Stevens. I've mentioned it 1,000 times. Tyreek Hill was getting locked up until Marlon Humphrey went down. And then he was on the sideline watching Tyreek Hill be left wide open in the secondary because Marlon Humphrey was not there to cover him. We'll see how it works out this time, especially with Brandon Stevens with the way he's been playing this season. So that's just how it is at the end of the day when it comes to that. That's why you're a football fan. That's why you hope the Steelers can change. I'm a Ravens fan, and no, your point about facing nobody don't matter. I don't care if we play trash teams in the Super Bowl. That's good for you. That's good for you. I'm not that type of fan. I grew up watching this team have battles against some of the best teams you could possibly do. I watched us go into, even though we lost that game, I watched us go into Heinz Field against the number 1 defense in the league, and I had full belief we can win that game. We didn't win it. So be it. You move on. If you want to sit back and be like, I want an easy path to the Super Bowl. I want an easy path to the Super Bowl. Well, what if you get that easy path to the Super Bowl and you get to the Super Bowl against a team that's better than all the teams you just passed? You think you're going to win a ring like that? You got an easy cupcake schedule to get to the Super Bowl, and then you face a juggernaut like the Niners and you lose. You'll be sitting back and say, well, we got to the Super Bowl. Is that what matters to you? Say, that's cool. That's cool. If your focus is to just get to the Super Bowl, you don't care if you want it to be the easiest path possible, by all means, that's good for you. As a Ravens fan, as a football fan, I got into this franchise because we were never afraid of the smoke. This has never been a franchise that is afraid of the smoke. I did not become a Ravens fan for the easy path. We've never had the easy path. Every time we had an opportunity where it looks like we had the easy path, we didn't win. I'm not looking for the easy path. I didn't become a Ravens fan because I'm looking for the easiest path to get to a ring. No, it's always been difficult. Both championships we've had have never been easy. The 2 rings the 2 Lombardis that's sitting there right now at the bank, those weren't easy championships to get. They weren't. To get out of the AFC was not the easiest championship. I did not become a Ravens fan because the Ravens were going through the easiest paths to get to the Super Bowl. That's not what made me a fan. If that's what you want to do, feel free to. I'm not saying that you got to be the way I am. Everyone has their own opinions. Everyone has how they want to view it. If you're a fan that wants the situation to be easy for the Ravens, that's cool for you. I'm not interested in that. That's not what I became a Ravens fan for. And at the end of the day, as a football fan, I want to see the best of games. Because these are the last games we're going to see this season. Why would I want to see the Ravens go up against a team, against a weaker opponent that they can easily dominate? No. You think the 2020 Lakers or Dodgers care about the asterisks? Bro, both Lakers and Dodgers fans. There's been Lakers and Dodgers fans that don't approve of that championship. There's Lakers and Dodgers fans that have approved of it and accept that championship, but there's also Lakers and Dodgers fans that never accepted that championship and never approved of those championships. At the end of the day, you're the type of fan that doesn't care what the scenario is. You don't care if it's an easy path to an easy ring. You just want the win. I'm not focused on that. That's just not me. I've always been the one that says, as a fan, I want to have the best possible matchups because these are the final games we're going to have of the sport. Once we reach the playoffs, there's going to be no more football for another 6 to 8 months. I want this to be the best possible matchups, the best possible games, the best possible outcomes. So I'm not sitting here to talk about let's get an easy path. If that's the type of fan you are, that's the type of fan you are. I'm not trying to watch a snooze fest where the Ravens just cruise through the AFC only to meet a juggernaut in the Super Bowl and then all of a sudden we didn't really go against anybody and you get blown out. Just saying. Again. And yeah, Boy Wonder, you do make a point because a lot of people look at the Broncos 2013 ride where they were the best, Peyton Manning, 55 touchdowns. They kind of just cruised their way all the way to the Super Bowl. They hadn't really met up with anybody major at that time or significant at that time that really put the pressure or not really met up with a team that was on their level. Then they got to the Seahawks and dealt with the Legion of Boom and how that worked out for them. So like I said, if it's not you, cool. You sit back and root for the easy path. I'm going to sit back and root for the difficult path. At the end of the day, we'll see what happens. I didn't become a fan because of the easy path. The Ravens have never had the easy path. What's going on, Travis? The Ravens have never had the easy path. They're never going to have the easy path. So that's just how it is at the end of the day. If you want to sit there and root for them to have to go up against, who still has a chance? The Broncos. Yeah, if you want to sit back and hope the Ravens somehow meet the Broncos in the divisional round, and then they somehow meet the Texans with C.J. Stroud compromising the AFC title game, if that's what you're rooting for, by all means. But I'm not trying to root for that. That's not the type of football I'm trying to see. I want these guys to be at their best, okay? Not all rings are created equal. Not all championships are created equal. And at the end of the day, if the Ravens are going to win a championship with Lamar Jackson, I want it to be because he beat somebody like a Josh Allen in the playoff game. I want it to be because he outbeat and got the best of Patrick Mahomes in this game. I want it to be because he took on the best possible competition. That's what I'm looking for. Those are the stories. Those are the narratives. Those are what you look for when you go back on. The reason why we talk about Joe Flacco's playoff run to the end of this day, to this day, is because Joe Flacco had to go into Denver to take on Peyton Manning. And then he had to go to Foxborough to take on Tom Brady to get to the Super Bowl. And then faced off against another storied franchise in the San Francisco 49ers in the Super Bowl. We talk about that run because of that. Ravens flock takes pride in that Joe Flacco run because of what that team was able to do, because of the team they were able to face. The fact that they were able to beat Peyton Manning, the fact that they were able to beat Tom Brady is what made the narrative so great. Ray Lewis's last ride, and he got to go up against the best of the best. And his team was able to beat the best of the best. That's what makes a legendary run. What makes the legendary run for the 07 Giants is because you watch them in the NFC title game go against Brett Favre's. First of all, they had to take on that number 1 seeded Dallas Cowboys team that people swore with T.O. and the crew they were going to get to the Super Bowl until they met up against the Giants. Then they had to go take on Brett Favre in his last ride with the Packers in the NFC title game. And then you took on the 18-0 Patriots. The 18-0 Patriots. And handed them. They were one win away from perfection. 18-1. That's what makes the legendary run. I'm not here for the easy path. It's sports. I'm not trying to watch a team get an easy ring. People hated those years when Golden State was just when they got back-to-back championships in 2017 and 2018 because they hadn't faced any major competition. The only major competition the Warriors faced throughout those 2 years was the 2018 Houston Rockets. And they were on the verge of losing before CP3 suffered that hamstring injury and they blew games 6 and 7. We want to see the best possible matchups in the biggest possible games of the season. Because that's what makes a legendary run. But that's just me. If you want the easy path, by all means, look for the easy path. That's just not me. Call me a fake fan, but I feel like if the Ravens play the Chiefs or Bills in the playoffs, they're going to get screwed because I don't trust that O-line against those defenses. If they lose the game, they weren't meant to be Super Bowl champions. If they can't handle the pressure, they weren't meant to be Super Bowl champions. They're not going to get screwed. It just means they weren't good enough to play that day. Simple as that. And Nikolai, if you want an easy path, that's good for you. I'm not interested in that. I'm not interested in an easy path. Because I know the conversations I'll be had with an easy path. I'm not interested in hearing that. If you want an easy path, that's cool for you. Me personally, I'm not interested in an easy path. I'm not. What about the Chiefs 2019 run? They got super lucky with those opponents. Arguments can absolutely be made about that, which is why people looked at last year's run as more significant than 2019's run. But what made 2019's run more special for people is because, yeah, you can say the opponents that they were going up against weren't the best, but the fact that they were legit in a double-digit deficit every single game. That's how it is. And what? Every basketball fan hated those Golden State championship runs, but guess what? Guess who loved those runs? Golden State fans. If we win the Super Bowl with an easy path, I don't care if you win the Super Bowl. Let me tell you right now, they won those 2 rings with KD. Do you know the best ring? The ring that every Warriors fan, from this Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Draymond Green era, do you know the ring that everyone loves the most as a Warriors fan? Is that 2022 ring, where Curry was able to dominate in the finals and get his first ever Finals MVP. Look at how Curry's face looked. Go look at the other championships in 2015, 2017, 2018, and then go look at Curry's reaction after they won the ring in 2022. You could tell that meant something from. There was no asterisk like 2015 because Kyrie and Kevin Love was hurt. There was no asterisk or no people arguing, well, you had KD, obviously you were guaranteed to win. Every Warriors fan talks about that last run they had with 2022 when you just had the main core and they were healthy and there was no injury excuse like 2015. And the fact that Curry was able to. Curry, the greatest point guard of this generation, it's him and Magic for who's the greatest point guard of all time. That run in 2022, for them to get to the championship game, take on the Celtics and beat them in 6 games, and for Curry to have an iconic moment in Game 4 and win his first ever Finals MVP, that means 1,000 times more to every Warriors fan than the 2 rings they won with KD. At the end of the day, I'm not saying it's wrong or right. I'm not here to say what you're thinking is wrong or right. I'm sitting here to say some people like the easier path, other people like the harder path. If you want to take the easy path and get an easy ring, fine for you. I'm not interested in that. I'm not interested in that. I'm not interested in that. Every single championship in any sport has an asterisk. All that anybody cares about is when you look back in history, who won a championship. You think anyone cares that Kyrie got hurt in 20? Well, not 21. It was 15, not 21. But again, like I said, championships are going to be championships. But narratives also. One thing that people always seem to forget is that championships will be remembered, but so do narratives and so do stories. They will be remembered because we tell those stories to the future generations. We tell those stories. Championships absolutely is the one thing that continues to move forward. When Kyrie got hurt against the Bucks, that's not the 22 finals. That was the 21 championship. Are you talking about anybody that cares back when you look? Are you talking about the Bucks 21 championship? Because that has nothing to do with the Warriors in 2022. If you're talking about the Milwaukee Bucks championship, yeah, there's definitely an asterisk on that. People put that there, but it doesn't. Like I said, there's definitely an asterisk on that. No question. But there's a narrative that comes with that too. And the narrative that was able to overtake that is the fact that Giannis got hurt he got hurt in the conference finals and was suffering with an injury. You're talking about the asterisk in sports? Yeah, every if you look at it, every single year there will be some sort of asterisk. But there's also a level of narrative that gets played into it. There's definitely an asterisk in our championship in 2012. Because people will sit back and say, if Raheem Moore does his job as a safety and just uses his common sense, Jacoby Jones doesn't catch that pass. And everyone, when they look back at it, everyone still sit back and say that's the worst possible coverage a safety can do on that situation. There's always going to be an asterisk in championships. It's always part of it. You can make an asterisk out of everything. You can make an asterisk out of anything. It's always part of sports. But not every ring is created equal. And not every narrative is going to be of the strength. Like I said, Luis, I'm not saying you're right or wrong. If you want the easy path to a ring, feel free to. I'm not interested in watching a boring easy path to the championship. If you want the easy path, that's good for you. I'm not saying it's good or I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I don't care. Like I said, if you want the easier path, by all means, take it. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm saying, not only as a Ravens fan, as a sports fan, I want the best matchups. I'm not trying to get to the playoffs and they're boring. I'm not. Like I said, if you want the easy path, by all means. You keep hoping for the easy path. Not saying you're wrong. I'm saying what made me a Ravens fan, what made me a fan of this franchise was the fact that both of our rings were not rings that involved us having the easy path. Neither one of our championships were easy paths. And I take pride in that. If you want the easy path, take the easy path. If that's what you're rooting for, root for it. You hope the Bills don't make the playoffs. You hope the Dolphins collapse. You hope Kansas City never gets it going with their passing game. You hope Denver makes it. And then you hope the Texans make it. And you hope Baltimore has to face off against Denver in the divisional round and then Houston in the AFC title game with a compromised C.J. Stroud. You hope for that. And then you hope when you get to the Super Bowl, it's not the Niners. And hopefully you get a ring out of that. If that's the storyline you want, take it. I don't want that storyline. That's not going to be interesting to me. Okay? Because at the end of the day, one of the things we Ravens fans always do is we throw back at the Steelers with those 2 rings Ben Roethlisberger has. He never faced off against Brady in those runs. Every time the Steelers took on the Patriots in the playoffs, they got sent home. So we always throw shade at the Steelers fans. We're like, well, we won in 08 and 2010, so what do you... No, 2010. We won in 05 and 08, so what are you talking about? Every time. I've seen Ravens fans be in debates about this. What they sit back and say, oh, cool. You didn't beat Brady, though. And it pissed Steelers fans off. Oh, no, but guess what? Steelers fans don't care? No, they absolutely do care because it starts heated debates. Because they sit back and say, it's not our fault Brady couldn't do this. It's not our fault Brady's that. It starts debates. At the end of the day, bro, you like what you like. If you want an easy path, take it. I'm not interested in that. Didn't say you were right. Didn't say you were wrong. I'm not interested in that. The 08 Steelers Super Bowl was the easiest. The 88 Chargers divisional round, rookie Flacco led AFC title game, and Kurt Warner Cardinals Super Bowl. Easy. You can look at it exactly like that. If that was a storyline they wanted to take, that's good for them. Me personally, I'm not interested in the boring storyline. Knowing the amount of criticism Lamar Jackson takes, knowing the criticism they throw at this guy every single day, I'm not trying to give them any kind of reason for them to sit back and say, oh, this was an easy win. If Lamar and this Ravens team goes into the playoffs, they beat, let's see, who do you got here? You beat the Dolphins with 2. Why can you only have 2 games? If you get the number 1 seed, let's just say division round, you got the Bills. I want it to be a case where you sit back in the divisional round, we got the Bills, it's Lamar, it's Josh Allen. Lamar got the better of Josh Allen. Then you get to the AFC title game, Lamar and Mahomes. Lamar outbests the Mahomes. That's the story I want. That's the story I want to follow because at the end of the day, I can always look back and say, this is the storyline I want. I'm not trying to look at others. I'm not trying to look at the easy path. Because at the end of the day, every time I bring up why Joe Flacco's playoff run is one of the greatest, if not the greatest run, is because he went into Peyton Manning's house and beat him. And then he went into Tom Brady's house and beat him. 2 of the greatest quarterbacks to play this game. Flacco outplayed them in their house. I take pride in that. Brady never gets injured in 08 Patriots win the Super Bowl. Probably. I thought you said you don't care about what the media says about Lamar. I don't. But I do care about the narrative and the storyline that I personally want to follow. I'm not trying to hear, and again, I'm not even talking about the media. I don't care what the media says. This is stuff we got to hear from our fans and from other rival fans. I'm not trying to hear that. It's not even about the media. It's just stuff that you're going to hear from other fans too. And I'm not trying to hear that nonsense. The people that keep coming in my comment section talking crap about Lamar every week, I'm not trying to deal with that. At the end of the day, I want the storyline for Lamar Jackson to get this playoff run and win a Super Bowl. That's number 1. But in between that, I want it to be a situation where they gave Josh Allen. Josh Allen got to 1 AFC title game, and they crowned him for just getting to the AFC title game. I want to beat that guy. And then Mahomes getting to 3 Super Bowls and winning 2. I want to beat that guy. In order to be the best, I want to beat the best. And that's the storyline I want to have. If you don't want it, it's cool, dude. Like, I don't know why we're having this back and forth debate. If you want the easy path, hope and pray for the easy path. Maybe the football gods will deliver it to you. Maybe we don't have to face off against Mahomes or Allen or Tua or no Mahomes, no Allen, no Tua. Who else? No Trevor Lawrence. None of that. Hope you got to deal with Russell Wilson and that Broncos team and a Texas team with a compromised C.J. Stroud. Hope for that. If that's what you want, hope for it. We're not guaranteed. We don't know what's going to happen. At the end of the day, we could end up going 1 and done again. We don't know what's going to happen. But me, if I get to write that storyline, I want to go up against the best. I've always been this way. Even in 2019, I wanted to go up against the best. And we ended up losing. People thought it would have been a simple matchup to get to the AFC title game. The easy game. The Titans were supposed to be the easy game until they weren't the easy game when we got beaten in our own house and embarrassed. So that's just how it is. Yeah, everybody knows the logo colors for the Super Bowl. We know, bro. We know the colors, dog. We know the colors. We know about it being purple and red. We know the purple being the bottom. It's been showcasing itself for weeks. Everybody has seen it. And I want our team to be the one that knocks off KC. That would be a great narrative because, again, KC, everyone said it right now. The Chiefs are the team that reigns supreme in the AFC. If you want to prove that you're the best, you got to beat the best. They've been to 5 straight AFC title games. They say the AFC runs through Mahomes. Well, if you want to showcase that you're here to battle and you can take them on and you can get past them, then beat them. That's what you want. That's what you want. That's what you want. Well, we're going to face the best anyway in the AFC. That's my point. There's no easy path. If the Chiefs lose the Browns, then what? The Browns are not the best. If the Chiefs lose to the Browns at the end of the day were able to outpace, outmatch, out tough, and ultimately beat the Chiefs. So at the end of the day, they're going to get their flowers for being seen as the best. When you pull off the upset, you get seen as the best. When the Titans beat us, they were seen as the best, and we were seen as a disappointment. That's part of the history and the narrative that's going to follow. It's as simple as that. Simple as that. If the Browns beat the Chiefs, that just adds to their legacy as well. And it goes to show how dangerous of a team the Browns is. No, I'm not saying a championship is an easy run. I'm just saying I want to face off against the best of the best. Everybody that goes into the playoffs obviously has a chance to win. I've mentioned several teams that have gone on, like the 07 and 2011 Giants. But what I'm saying is I want to go up against the best of the best. That's what I'm looking for. Patrick Mahomes, people have declared this to be his era. He has been seen as the best quarterback. He has been seen as the guy that is the heir apparent to Tom Brady. I want to beat that guy. I want to beat that guy. I want to see a Josh Allen. They say he's a consensus top 3 quarterback. I want to beat that guy. I want to prove that the guy we have, our quarterback's better than his, and he can outplay him in a playoff game. I want to prove that. That's what I want. If you want to be the best, you got to beat the best. I want to beat the best in the game. I want to beat that 2-time defending Super Bowl champion quarterback and 2-time MVP quarterback in Kansas City. I want to beat that guy. That's what I'm looking to do. That's just what I'm looking to do. That's what I'm looking to do at the end of the day. That's just what I'm looking to do. You want to beat the best players in this game. Those are the best players you want to take on in the game. Now, we've seen plenty of runs where you look at the team and they're like, they're not the best, but they got this far. And you'll see magical runs like that. We saw with 07 and 2011. The Giants, they weren't viewed as the best, talent-wise, but they were able to outlast everybody else. And that's a narrative in itself. And that's the beauty of football because it's never guaranteed. That's another aspect. They're not the best, but they outlasted everybody else and made themselves become the best because they showcased that they can beat the best. And that applies for everybody. This isn't just a Ravens thing. If you want to be seen as the best, you got to beat the best. Even if you're not seen as the best team, because no one looked at the Giants and sat back and said they were the best team when they beat them in 07. Nobody was saying that, but they beat the best. So can you question it? That's a narrative. It's its own story. That's its own story that extends out. The Ravens aren't viewed as the best team in the NFL. Hell, some don't even view the Ravens as the best team in the AFC. But if you go out and beat those teams that people think are the best team in the AFC, you put yourself in that position. I want to play the best players in this game. I want to play the best players. So basically, you want to play the Bills and Chiefs. I want to play the best players. The Dolphins are another team you could throw in there too if you want. At the end of the day, I want to play the best and I want to beat the best. When we won our championship in 2012, we knew we were battle tested heading into that Super Bowl, and no matter what the Niners did, we were prepared because we beat Peyton Manning and we beat Tom Brady on our way to that championship. And that's what made a lot of people believe, hey, they can get this done. Even knowing the history of the Niners and how great that team was in that 2012 year. The fact that the Ravens were battle tested and just came through playing, in outlasting and beating Peyton Manning and Tom Brady, is what makes the story better. So any other team who we play, not named Bills, Chiefs, or Fins, is not the best, even if they beat the other three. Well, here's the thing that you're not mentioning, Luis. You're just making the assumption they beat the other three. Sometimes we have different matchups. There's several teams to play. You're not going to always get to face off against the best team in that aspect. Maybe you get a situation where, let's just say this, we're the number 1 seed, Cleveland's the 5 seed. Let's just sit back and say, Cleveland, this wouldn't happen in the wild card round, but let's just say, let's see, Kansas City right now is the 3 seed. Let's just put Cleveland at the 6 seed. No, but yeah, let's use Cincinnati in this one as a 6 seed, because Cincinnati and Cleveland, now Cincinnati and Kansas City will go up against each other. Let's say Cincy and Kansas City goes against each other, right? And Cincy gets the best of Kansas City. We'll say Cincy gets the best of Kansas City, and then we'll say the 7 seed gets the best of the Miami Dolphins because people think they're going to choke already. So now you got to take on that 7 seed because you're the 1 seed. And then that 6 seed in the Bengals that just beat the Chiefs, let's say they go on to the divisional round and they lose to that opponent. So now that team that you just talked about that just beat the Chiefs just got beat by that other one. Would you look at that aspect, and so if Texans beat KC and we play them, you're going to say we didn't beat the best? If Texas beat KC, then they're better than KC. If we play Houston and beat them, we beat the best. But what if the Texans beat Kansas? What if Texans don't even face off against Kansas City? What if Kansas City loses to another team and then the Texans beat the team that beat Kansas City? At that point, it's a cycle. It's all about the narratives, bro. It's all about the narratives of the story. I don't know why we're having this endless debate. Lewis, if you want, whatever you want is whatever you want. If you want to take the path where you don't face Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen, by all means, hope and pray for that. I'm trying to go up against the best players in this game. That's what I want. Those are legacy-defining moments. Those are moments. Luis is just defending his point. If that's what he wants, that's what he wants. I'm not here to say you're right or wrong. I'm giving you what I want. It seems like, Luis, you're trying to convince me to go towards your side. Take what you want is what you want. What I want is what I want. Take what you want, bro. If you want anybody, cool. I want to go up. I want to have a narrative in the story here where we beat Josh Allen and we beat Patrick Mahomes to prove our quarterback can beat those guys. To prove our team can beat those guys. That's what I want. If you're fine with, I don't care who we play anybody, and we win, that's cool. That's cool for you. If that's what you want, you have that. That's not what I want. I don't want that. We can have differences. If you want that, cool. I don't want that. That's just me. I want to see Lamar go up against the best of the best. I want to see this Ravens team go up against the best of the best. What's going on, Khalil? Appreciate you stopping by. But yeah, I want to go up against the best of the best. If you're fine with going up against anybody and say, well, that's the team that beat Kansas City, they're the best of the best now. That's another story in its own telling. That's another narrative in its own telling. You rock with that story. That doesn't mean it's a terrible story. At the end of the day, narratives will follow history. So do championships. At the end of the day, if you sit back and it's a ride where we take on Denver and then we take on the Texans and we end up in the Super Bowl and we win a championship, we're all going to celebrate. We're all going to be happy. It's going to be cool. That's not the narrative I want, but it's not like I'm not going to be celebrating the Ravens winning a championship. I want to go through the best. With Baltimore, from a historical standpoint, we have gone through some of the best to win our championships. That is what we've done. If you want whatever your narrative wants, that's cool. I don't. And then here, y'all changed my point. All I ever said is I would be worried about the Bills. What a fan wouldn't be worried. Again, you're free to be worried, Luis. I don't think you're getting the point. You're making it seem like we're saying what your point is wrong. I'm not saying what your point is wrong. You're free to feel however you want to feel. You're free to feel however you want to feel, Luis. If you want to be afraid of the Bengals, or not Bengals, if you want to be afraid of the Bills, feel free to be afraid of the Bills. No one's going to tell you how to feel. That's your own emotion. I'm just saying I'm not feeling that way. At this stage of the game, I'm not feeling that way. I want to take on the Bills. I want to take on the Chiefs. I want to prove we're the best team. If you want to be afraid of them, feel free to be afraid of them. That's your personal feelings. That's nothing to do with me or anybody else in the chat. Feel free to be afraid of them. There's nothing wrong with that. It just seems like you feel like we're saying it feels like at the end of the point, we just spent 30 minutes doing this. It feels like you're just making it seem like everyone's saying what you're saying is wrong and how your feeling's wrong. Nobody's saying that. You are free to feel however you want to feel. If you want to be afraid of the Bills and you are afraid of them, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with being afraid of them. You're free to feel however you want to feel. Doesn't make it wrong. So if you're afraid of the Bills, that's fine. You're okay to be afraid of the Bills. As a fan, it's okay to be afraid of a team. I never said that's the wrong thing. I just said from my perspective, I've never looked at it as being afraid. And at this stage of the season, I never look at a team and say, you should be afraid. As a fan, you want to be afraid? That's cool. Teams, they're not looking at it like that. It's okay to be afraid. It's okay to be afraid of the Bills if you want to be afraid. That's how you feel. Me, I have no fear of any of these teams. I don't. I have no fear of any of these teams. I have no problem taking on the Bills. I want us to take on the Bills. I want us to take on the Chiefs. I'm not afraid of none of them. I'm not. There's no fear there. And this isn't about a confident thing or about being cocky. Because at the end of the day, I'm not sitting there saying we're guaranteed to win those games. I'm just saying I don't have, at this point, everyone knows what the goal is. I have no fear of any of these guys. If my team is going to be crowned champions, you may run into these guys. If you're sitting there being afraid of them, you got no shot to even win those games. Like I said, if you're okay to feel however you want to feel, bro. If you're afraid of them, feel free to be afraid of them. No one's saying you're right or wrong. No one is sitting here and saying you're right or wrong for how you feel. If you're afraid of the Bills, feel free to be afraid of the Bills. You're okay being afraid of it. If that's what you want, feel free to. I'm not looking at it like that. That's why we all have different opinions. It's sports, man. If you're looking at that team and saying, I'm afraid of my Ravens facing off against them, that's fine. Me, I'll look at them and say, I want my team to face off against them. You're that type of fan. I'm this type of fan. Doesn't mean any of us are right or wrong. It just means that's who we are. So if you are completely free to be afraid of the Bills all you want, that's your personal choice. Doesn't make it wrong. You're free to you're free to feel and express however you want to feel and express. Me, I'm just saying the way I've watched football and sports, the way I've been built and how I've watched this team and why I became a fan, we've never had the easy path. So because we've been built on a franchise that's never had the easy path, I don't have fear of any team because I already know we've been in these situations before. So me personally, I don't have any fear. I've watched my team take on the best of the best and be put in these situations in the playoff game. Doesn't mean they always come out on top, but I've already seen them be put in these situations. I grew up watching my team be put in these situations, so I'm already used to it. Are you live streaming the Cowboys-Dolphins game? Probably gonna. If I have an opportunity, I'll probably stream the Cowboys and Dolphins. I'll probably look to do so. Like, yeah, you're free to feel however you feel, Luis. No one's trying to judge you or say how you're feeling is wrong. You're free to fear the Bills if that's what you want. As a fan, you're free to have any sort of concerns or fears you have. It's not a bad thing. I'm not streaming Sunday Night Football. It's not a bad thing. So however you feel is however you feel. I'm just saying that's your take on it. That's your feeling. That's your opinion. That's who you are as a fan. I was just explaining my side as a fan. No one's trying to judge you or criticize you or say what you're saying is wrong. It's sports. We're fans. Feel however you want to feel, okay? Feel however you want to feel. Me personally, I don't care. I want the hard road. I want the tough road. That's what the Ravens have always been built on. And I want us to get back to that level of toughness. We've always been built on taking the tough road. We've always been built on taking the hardest path. It's what's built us. It's why we have those 2 championships in our stadium. That is what Ray Lewis and Ed Reed and T. Sizzle, that is what those legends on the defense built. A level of toughness to face off against any opponent no matter what. They went into battles with Tom Brady. They went into battles with Peyton Manning. And that's why they have the ultimate respect of them. Whenever you hear Brady or Belichick or Peyton talk about the Ravens and talk about Ray Lewis and Ed Reed, it's of the utmost respect. They never back down. We've been built on that level of toughness. And I want that to continue. They got destroyed by the Colts in 09? Absolutely. 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 Like I said, they weren't afraid. I'm not saying you're always going to win those matchups because we haven't won every single matchup. Obviously, had we had won every single matchup, we would have more rings than 2. But the aspect of fear for me personally, what I grew up on, there was no fear factor there. There was never a fear factor of these teams. Why? Because Ray Lewis and Ed Reed made it, and T. Sizzle made the president to not have a fear factor here. No matter what our offense looked like, that defense made us believe in Baltimore that they can go in and take on anyone, even if they would proceed to go get blown out. That's just what we've been built on. So, that's just what I follow. That's how I became a fan. That's why I'm a Ravens fan. We've been built on that level of toughness. So I don't have a fear factor of anybody. I have no fear factors. I apologize for this earlier. Shout out to Non-Swirl Zone. Appreciate the donation. Ravens versus Niners. Ravens pre-playoff test. Yeah, I would definitely say so. I could definitely look at it and say that's going to be a pre-playoff test because the atmosphere in San Francisco is going to be huge. It's going to feel like a playoff game. It's going to be a major, major, major atmosphere. I think all AFC North teams are built on toughness. It's why we're the best division in football. But yeah, I would agree with you, Swirl. I would definitely say this is a pre-playoff test because, I mean, the Ravens themselves have already said they've been like keeping up. They've been looking at these last couple games as playoff tests for them, or just looking at them as playoff games. So this is one of those ones where it's like they're really gonna look like it, really gonna look at it like it's a playoff game, and we'll see. We'll see if that ends up being the case. We will see if that ends up being the case. John, I'm not answering that question. You were playing wide receiver. Who's rather throw me the ball? John, I know you've been here for a while, but I know you've been here for a while, John, but I don't know if you know how I personally feel about both Jay Cutler and Ryan Fitzpatrick. I'd rather just not play receiver. I'm not catching no passes from that. I don't want either one of those guys to throw me the football. I'm good. Go put me on the bench, coach. I'm not having neither one of those guys throw me the ball. My feelings of Ryan Fitzpatrick and Jay Cutler has been out there. I am not a fan of either one of those dudes. What are the chances of Ravens franchise tagging Patrick Queen in March? I think it's very high that it can happen, specifically because I don't know if they're going to have the money to be able to pay everybody. Number one priority for them this offseason has to be to pay Justin Madubuike. You can't afford to lose him. He has to get his money. From there, would they have enough money to give Patrick Queen a contract? I'm not sure. So they may have to look at franchise tagging him. I think number one has to be Madubuike, number two has to be Queen, and then you just go from there. Can you hold on to a Geno Stone? We'll have to find out. But Madubuike has to be signed long term. This is a guy that's been here and he's slowly improved every single year and has finally reached the level of a play that he's showcasing this year. And you don't want to lose Patrick Queen because he's part of one of the best linebacking duo in football. You want to have both those guys there. So yeah, it's a good chance he gets franchise tag. But I also think the Ravens are probably going to look to restructure a lot of stuff just to get themselves some extra cap space to try and afford these contracts. I want to keep both Deaton. I want to keep both Madubuike and Queen. But obviously Madubuike has to be the number one priority. You cannot afford to lose him. So Madubuike definitely has to. Madubuike absolutely has to be saved before Patrick Queen. I love Patrick Queen. I think you use a franchise tag on him, but there's no way. We've been complaining for years about not having an elite pass rusher, not having an elite guy that can just break through the front seven and get to the quarterback. You finally have one that you've developed. This is a guy you drafted and developed, and he is showcasing himself this way. You can't get up again. We've complained about this pass rushing unit. We know Madubuike can be here for years to come. He has developed and gotten better every single year under our system. You finally got one. No, you can't let that guy go. I love what Patrick Queen brings to the table, and obviously we don't want to let him go, which is why you used the franchise tag on him, but there's no way you give up Justin Madubuike. Madubuike is number one priority for them this offseason. Then you try to figure the situation out with Queen. So that's just straight up. Patrick Queen got cooked by a practice squad tight end versus the Bengals. Plus, we drafted Trent Simpson for a reason. That's fair. Again, they're probably going to try. They want to keep both. Knowing the Ravens, they're going to want to keep both. They're going to want to keep both. We'll have to let Geno walk most likely. It's definitely a good chance they could potentially let Geno walk because they've already... I don't know if he's going to get it back. I don't even know if they can afford him. Now, again, if he wants to stay here, it would have to be on a lesser deal, which is something he'll have to personally choose. But with the way Geno Stone's played this year, he could definitely get it back somewhere. You seen John Morant's performance tonight? No, I didn't. I've been live streaming here, Josh. The game's been happening while I've been live streaming. I've been here for like the last hour and a half. So, unfortunately, I saw the beginning of the game. John Morant himself, he had got his mask. I didn't know if there was, someone talked about them being down and John Morant leading the comeback. So, again, I didn't get to watch this game with John Morant because I've been here live streaming for like the last hour plus. I've been seeing some Ravens fans want Patrick Queen over Matabike. That's good for them. That's not what the Ravens are going to do. They better restructure Ronnie's deal. That's a guarantee at this point. That's a guarantee. Dio, Brando, or Don Flamingo. As villains, I'm not going to lie, Brando's definitely tough. Don Flamingo's the best villain in One Piece. Something about Dio's just different. I mean, Dio was a generational villain. He was literally the type of villain that was like, no, I don't need, not just the, what was it? I think it was Joseph. It was Joseph. No, not Joseph. It was Jonathan. He was like, no, I don't need Jonathan to be taken down. I need his descendants to be taken down too. That's a generational hater. He not only tried to do he did. He not only actively tried to lead to the downfall of the Joestars. He did it throughout the generations until he had that fateful match with Jotaro. So yeah, I would say Dio. Dio did it. He's generational level hate. I'll go with Dio. Generational level hate from that man. Generational level hate. You can't keep both. It's just impossible. Well, you can keep both because again, you could look to franchise tag Patrick Queen, which is why you have that there. So you could look to give Matabike a contract, and you could franchise tag him. Doesn't mean Patrick Queen will be happy with that. But they could definitely look to franchise tag Patrick Queen. I thought we already restructured Stanley. I'm not fully sure if we have. And even if we have, restructure him again. He ain't living up to the contract he got right now. Restructure him some more. There's a very good edge rusher from Alabama. The Ravens are interested. I think at the end of the day, when it comes to this upcoming draft, Ravens are going to be looking for offensive linemen and maybe another pass rusher. What's your opinion on the Ravens versus 49ers Monday Bash? All right, let me get into that. I've been paying a lot of attention to the comments because they have gone into a whole discussion and debate about stuff. Let me actually briefly give my case about Ravens-Niners Monday Night Football. So let me actually give that here. Okay. Monday Night Football, Christmas Day in San Francisco. The Ravens and Niners are going to go at it. There's a lot of implications that come into this game. Number one, it's the battle of the number one seed. So the loser here definitely has a huge blow to their chances of getting the number one seed. Whereas the winner here really elevates their chance. It probably puts them in a position where they would just need one more win to lock up the number one seed with a week to go. So the implications for playoff seeding matters. The implications for who's the best team in the league matters because you got two number one seeded teams going at it. The winner of that matchup will most likely be viewed as the best team in football. And then, of course, you have the element of the MVP. You got Brock Purdy's case and Lamar's case, which has kind of just risen over the last couple weeks. Brock Purdy has been battling off everybody. Like I've said it personally here, my MVP would be Chris. I look at my three: Christian McCaffrey, Tyreek Hill, and Myles Garrett. But I understand it's just a quarterback award, so I don't even try to bring up those guys. Knowing that this is a quarterback award, I just focus on the quarterbacks. So at that point, you look at a Brock Purdy, a Dak Prescott, a Lamar Jackson, and then you look at the other ones that were in it that have now hurt their cases: Tua, Jalen Hurts, etc. Patrick Mahomes as well. So when we look at it in terms of the quarterback award, which I'm going to call that, not the MVP, the quarterback award, right now Brock Purdy's leading. A lot of people thought it was between Dak and Purdy, with Lamar being at third, but Dak just took a major blow to his MVP campaign. Doesn't mean he can't recover, but the fact that he took that major blow, and he's already lost head-to-head against Brock Purdy and that Niners team. Already made it a difficult road for him to do. He was playing near perfect football for 2 months and then had his worst performance at the worst time. So now Brock Purdy's at the lead, and Brock Purdy's been playing amazing football. But here comes Lamar Jackson. Now he's in that second place. So this game is going to be a battle of the MVP cases. If Brock Purdy plays well and that Niners team handles the Ravens, Brock Purdy locks up the MVP no matter how you feel about it. However, if Lamar Jackson goes into San Francisco against a Niners team with all those weapons and that lethal defense, and Lamar finds a way to outplay Brock Purdy and the Ravens beat the Niners, the MVP race becomes an entirely different case because Lamar's case for MVP majorly skyrockets even though he doesn't have the statistics to back up that case. So this is also a battle of MVP cases. Brock Purdy locks up the MVP if he beats Lamar and the Ravens. Lamar literally elevates himself and completely flips the MVP case, MVP race on its head, which may put him at the top if he's able to outperform Purdy and beat the Niners. So there's that. You got the battle of the MVP cases, the battle of supremacy for who's the best in the league, and the battle of seeding for the number one seed in each individual conference. In terms of how things are going to go, obviously I think the biggest matchup to watch out for in this game will have to be the Niners offense versus the Ravens defense. The Ravens have a top 3 defense. The Niners have one. I believe the Niners are a top 5 offense as well. So you have a top 5 offense going up against a top 5 defense. This is where a lot of things are going to be determined. We're going to have to see how our Ravens defense is going to fare against all these weapons. You're going to have an offense where you're dealing with Christian McCaffrey in the backfield. You got Brandon Ayuk and Deebo Samuel to worry about. And you also got to deal with George Kittle. They've got weapons on weapons on weapons. So this is a game where the defense cannot afford to make a single mistake. They don't have to play perfect football, but they have to play near perfect football, which means everybody needs to be focused. Everybody needs to be on their toes. Everybody needs to be aware of their assignments, stick to their assignments, and make sure they are completely focused on what they need to do. Everybody has to do their job at a high level defensively. Because if they make one simple mental mistake and they miss a tackle on Deebo Samuel, he's taking it the distance. You miss a tackle on Christian McCaffrey, he's taking the distance. With the speed Ayuk has, if you can't get him down, he's taking it the distance. So the defense has to be disciplined, they have to be focused, and they have to do their job as a unit. Everybody has to be on point. On the flip side, the Ravens offense versus the Niners defense. The Niners defense has put some serious chokeholds on some of these other quarterbacks. They've been able to do well. They handled Jalen Hurts. They handled Dak Prescott. We've seen it happen. We've seen it with a lot of these teams throughout this season. So now they're trying to handle Lamar Jackson. We're going into this game knowing we've lost Keaton Mitchell, which is a huge blow as well. But at the end of the day, we have to keep moving forward. You got an offense with no J.K. Dobbins, no Keaton Mitchell, no Mark Andrews, but you got to keep trucking forward. You've still got pieces, you still got weapons. We've heard they've elevated Melvin Gordon, so we'll see how that experiment works out because now you have no choice but to play him. He would have seen the field if Keaton Mitchell didn't get hurt, but now that he's hurt, you got Melvin Gordon there. We'll have to see how that goes. Definitely got concerns there, but at the end of the day, it is what it is. You'll just have to deal with that. So, offensively, Baltimore needs to be aggressive. I think if there's any week where the Ravens offense has to be aggressive, it has to be this game. They cannot get conservative in a game like this. You can't get conservative. I think they're going to have to look to establish the run game early because there's going to be a lot of pressure. And they have to establish the run game early to back those guys off of the line of scrimmage and force them to try and take more of an emphasis on the pass. We have to air it out, though. I'm not even going to say we got to establish the run. Forget that. We want to actually back them up. So this might be a game where we actually do have to establish a passing game. Because if we try to establish the running game, they'll be forced to come down, which will improve our passing game. But with the way our offensive line is built, I don't know if I want these guys to be focused in on trying to stop the run. Because if they're all zoned in on everybody coming down, is JK coming back? No. But if they all focus and zone in on trying to stop the run, they're going to cook our offensive line. So this might actually be the game. Forget about me talking about the Ravens running game's got to be established. This is where you're going to have to look at these receivers and say, look, guys, we need you to beat your man one-on-one. this is where we have to establish a passing game because we need to get these guys backed up. We cannot have these guys lining up at the line of scrimmage. Well, the way our offensive line is set, we have got to put pressure on the Niners secondary. I thought maybe if we would run the football against them effectively, it would help out. And Baltimore may still look to do that at some point. But this passing game has to get established this week. We've seen it happen in other weeks where the passing game dictates the offense and we go from there. This has to be a week where the passing game dictates. Because our offensive line, we're going to be going up against Nick Bosa and Chase Young. Our offensive line is not good enough to handle both those guys. They're not. So we got to take some level of pressure off. And the best way to do that is to attack the secondary of the Niners. If we can get big plays down the field with Odell, with Bateman, with Flowers, and with Aguilar, it's going to help out. So we're going to have to be aggressive on offense, and we are going to have to look to establish our passing game, attack the secondary of the Niners, and get that pressure off. Normally, we would come into games trying to establish the run. In Baltimore, they will look to establish the run here. But we got to take the pressure off. We have to take the pressure off. We cannot put our offense... Obviously, we're going to need some extra protection, which is where Patrick Carr is going to come into play a lot in this game. But we cannot put the pressure on our offensive linemen. They're not to be trusted. They're not to be trusted. So we have to take the pressure off. We got to force them to back up into coverage and defend the pass. So this is where we need this week to be huge for the passing game. Establish the pass. Take the pressure off our offensive line by having them be forced to back up into coverage and prepare for the run. From there, you can try to establish the run game as well. But the passing game may have to start this party off for Baltimore. Offensive line, obviously, they're going to have to do their job, which has been very difficult for them to do, but they're going to have to do their job. And you're going to probably have to use Patrick Carr, like I said, to get some extra protection, but they have to do their job. If Lamar doesn't get time to throw, we're cooked. We're cooked. We will be absolutely cooked. So Lamar's going to need time to throw. At the same time, Lamar Jackson is Lamar Jackson, and he is the X factor. He is the guy that is going to make plays when things aren't working. So when that offensive line is collapsing and they're coming after Lamar, we know Lamar has the ability to escape the pocket, escape defenders, juke, take off, pick up the first down, or extend the play with his legs, find somebody down the field with his arm, and make a huge play. So I'm going to be honest, man. Before I even talk about establishing the pass game, which I've already done, or before we even talk about the emphasis of the run game, which I've already spoken of, the number one thing that we're going to need to see is Lamar tighten his cleats. Lamar needs to make sure his cleats are tightened up because he is going to be running for his life all day. I'm not going to lie. I will be shocked if this offensive line holds up against the Niners. So Lamar is going to be doing a lot of running around. But when he does get time in the pocket, that's where the passing game needs to thrive to take the pressure off, and then we can establish our run game. So it's going to be a lot. It's going to be a lot. There's so much you have to deal with here. And Baltimore, that offensive line going up against the Niners front seven just seems like a nightmare. But if they can find a way to give us some level of consistency, some level of production, then we have a chance to win. At the end of the day, I think it's a game that's going to come down to the wire. If Baltimore doesn't make mistakes, they're going to be fine. If Baltimore's defense can force Brock Purdy to make some mistakes, they'll be even better. But no matter how I look at it, it's going to be a game that comes down to the wire, and it's going to be dependent on who can make the right plays at the right moments down the stretch. Will it be Lamar? Will it be Brock Purdy? We will find out on Monday night. So that's my overall take as to what I think is going to go on Monday night. And at the end of the day, we'll see what happens when we go from there. So yeah, that's just my take. That's just my take at the end of the day. That's just my take at the end of the day. Mitchell coming back for sure next year. Yeah, he's definitely coming back next year. No question. That's nasty, Matthew. That is nasty. That was nasty what you said about Nick Bosa, but I'm not about to just... I'm going to leave that there. Just bench Stanley and put in McCarthy. McCarthy was just as bad. That's crazy. Funny fact, if you go look at his grade, McCarthy was just as bad as Stanley, and McCarthy's healthy. So that doesn't really help the case either way. But yeah, that's what I got to say about that in terms of the overall aspect. It's going to come down to the wire. Do I expect the Ravens to win? I'm not going to say I expect them to win. I hope they win. But do I expect them to win? Honestly, it's a coin toss. Every game Baltimore's played up until now, I can sit back and say, yeah, I expect them to win if they play up to their potential. This is the one game this season where Baltimore can play up to their potential and they can still lose. So I think it's a coin toss. It's a toss-up. Because I don't know how our defense is going to fare against Brandon Ayuk, against Deebo Samuel, against George Kittle, against Chris McCaffrey. I don't know how they're going to deal with that. And I don't know how our offensive line is going to deal with Chase Young and Nick Bosa coming after them. So it's a toss-up at this point. It's a toss-up. I hope it doesn't turn into a blowout, be it Baltimore blowing them out or the Niners blowing us out. I hope it doesn't turn into a blowout. I hope it's a great game. It probably will be a great game that comes down to the wire because Baltimore is not a team that gets blown out. Like this year's iteration of the Ravens have not gotten blown out. The games we've lost have been games that have come down to the wire, last-second losses. Like with the Browns, we lost that in the final seconds of the game. With the Colts, we lost that in overtime. With the Steelers, it was coming down to the wire. It was a one-possession game. We just couldn't win. So, yeah, we haven't gotten blown out once this season. I don't think that's going to happen in this game, and I hope it doesn't happen. But this is a game that will probably come down to the wire, and we'll just have to see how things go. I think the Ravens have a great shot to win this game, but I also think the result will be a coin toss because both these teams are just that damn good, and we'll just have to see what happens from there. But, yeah, the biggest concerns will be our offensive line and how our defense is going to fare against those weapons that they have in San Francisco. But at the end of the day, when it comes to the offense, you know Lamar's the X factor. He's a difference maker. He's going to make plays happen when things aren't working. And we'll just have to rely on Lamar being Superman. You know, unless everybody shows up and plays out of their mind, we're going to have to rely on Lamar being Superman in order to save us and help us win that game. But yeah, that's pretty much all I got to say about that for the most part. So I've been here for about an hour and a half. Oh, I've been here for exactly an hour and a half. That's crazy. At the end of the day, I got to say what I wanted to say, had a brief discussion with you guys. So I'm probably going to look to end it here. We may end up talking a little bit more about this matchup later on down the week. You know, it's only Tuesday. I wanted to give my brief preview about this. We might talk about some other things as in terms of how will the offensive fare, what will the defense, what the defense needs to do in order to stop the weapons. We'll probably look to talk about that. We might have another one of these discussion live streams later on down the week. Not going to guarantee it, but we may have another one of these discussions. But today I just wanted to just give my overall preview, talk with you guys about the Ravens and Niners, get into some debates, some discussions, and overall go for that. So yeah, Christmas is going to be quite the interesting one. I will say this though, I'm gonna put it out here now. I'm gonna be honest. I'm not here to be negative on Christmas. I am not here to be negative on Christmas, dog. So I'm gonna tell y'all all in the stream, I ain't gonna entertain it. Y'all are free to do so, but I'm personally not gonna entertain it. We are not. It is Christmas Day. I am not going to be spreading any sort of negativities. Christmas is supposed to be a day of joy. At least that's what they say. Which, I mean, I don't buy into that. Like, that's what they say, though. That's what Christmas is supposed to be about. Even though it's more so about, you know, we're not even talking about that. It's Christmas, all right? It's Christmas. It's supposed to be a good day. All right? I'm not going to be the Grinch on Christmas. Obviously, I want the Char's going to get you mad on Christmas. I'm not going to entertain it. He's free to say whatever he wants. Matter of fact, I'm not going to lie. The stream that we're going to have, I'm just going to tell you this right now. We're going to be relaxed. We're going to be chill. And we're going to enjoy a game of football. I'm not going to be here to get mad. If y'all want to be negative, y'all are free to be negative. I'm not going to be negative on Christmas. If you want to spend your Christmas being negative, have at it. I'm going to let y'all say what y'all want to say in the chat. I personally am not going to be negative. The Ravens could be getting blown out, and I'll be talking about Christmas carols. That's what we're going to be doing in the stream. We're going to be chill. We're going to be relaxed. We'll be talking football and watching the game and commentating. But we're also going to be talking about Christmas stuff, you know. Any Christmas songs you guys like, any Christmas movies you enjoy, any Christmas shows you remember watching growing up, we're going to do that. It's going to be a joyful time. The Ravens could be getting blown out. I'm still going to be here on this live stream talking about, hey, how y'all feel about the Home Alone series? Do you think past the first two movies, you think we'll be talking about that. Like, we're just going to enjoy, it's Christmas Day, so we're going to enjoy Christmas. Now, I hope it's not a day where the Ravens get beat. I don't want the Christmas Day to be ruined by the Ravens getting smoked by the Niners, but I'm not going to be sitting here and being negative. No. If y'all want to be negative on Christmas, have at it in the chat. I'm going to be positive. I'm going to be relaxing. If we're watching it and all of a sudden the Ravens defense gives up like 5 touchdown passes to Brock Purdy, I'm going to be like, it's Christmas Day, you know. Ravens defense just didn't show up. They got flat out beat, outplayed, outman. It's unfortunate. You ain't getting no rant video from me on Christmas Day if the Ravens lose. I'ma just let it be what it is, bro. We gonna have a positive Christmas Day. New Year's Eve is different though. But Christmas, nah, I'm not gonna be negative on Christmas. I hope the Ravens get the win, but I'm not gonna be tripping if they don't. It's gonna be Christmas, bro. I'm not looking to be all negative and angry on Christmas. I'm not the Grinch. I'm not gonna be that guy. So yeah, if y'all want to be negative, feel free. We'll watch Stanley giving treats to Bosa and Young. He can give as many treats as possible. It ain't gonna bother me. That man Stanley can be getting cooked on every single snap. I'm gonna just sit back and say, hey man, Stanley, you ain't playing well, you know. Like Stanley, man, you know, it's kind of tough watching you like this. It's on Christmas Day, man. You know people gonna be sitting back and saying you're gonna get cold for Christmas for not blocking. You know how Ravens fans gonna be. We're gonna be making jokes like that. Like anybody that can't do their job for the Ravens is just gonna get cold for Christmas. I guess that's the jokes we're gonna be making. But yeah, that's just how it's gonna be. If y'all wanna be negative on Christmas in the chat, feel free to. I'm not gonna be negative on Christmas. It's Christmas Day. We're gonna be talking about some Christmas stuff. We'll be speaking on Christmas carols, talking about Christmas cartoons, talking about Christmas movies, any Christmas shows you've seen. That's what I'm going to be doing. Matter of fact, I already know in these upcoming days, as we reach towards Christmas, I got some Christmas movies I got to watch and catch up on. Matter of fact, let me ask what was it called? Before I finish this off. I know I have those movies. Yo, what was the name of the 3 movies you were talking about? The Christmas movies. Yeah, was it Santa Claus? Santa Claus said what? 1, 2, 3, and you said it was a 4th one? Okay, the 3. Yeah, Santa Claus. I'll be watching that. That's what I'll be watching. So yeah, I'm gonna be, like I said, I'm gonna be chilling out the next couple days. I'll be watching Home Alone. I'm gonna be watching Santa Claus. I'll be watching that cartoon. What was it called? Grandma Got Ran Over by a Reindeer. I'll just be watching Christmas stuff. That's what I'm finna do. Bad Santa, I'm gonna watch it. Matter of fact, John, let's everybody watch as many Christmas movies, cartoons, shows. Watch everything. And on Christmas Day, when we sit here watching the Ravens and the Niners, feel free to bring it up. It's all going to be about Christmas. If you got any Christmas memories you have, bring it up in the chat. We are going to be here celebrating Christmas. We just happen to be playing on Christmas, so we'll be talking about the Ravens and the Niners. But you've already watched like 5 Christmas films. Feel free to bring up all of them and we'll have a discussion. So like, I'm not going to do nothing negative. You know, Charge will be in the chat, cooking Stanley constantly. If y'all want to join in on the discussion when Charge is cooking Stanley, feel free to. I'll be talking about Christmas carols. So yeah, that's what we're going to be doing on Christmas Day. We're going to be having fun, we're going to be chatting, and we're going to be doing that. So that's just how it is. And yeah, also the Miami Heat, we played the Sixers on Christmas, so I might talk about that. I might talk about the Heat and the Sixers, how that is. Hey man, we could talk about some bad Christmas movies too, Luis. Talk about some of the worst Christmas movies you've ever watched and why they suck. We could talk about that too. Any Christmas related stuff on Christmas Day, we gonna be talking about it, okay? We're gonna be sitting here watching the Ravens take on the Niners. We're not gonna sit here and get pissed, okay? We ain't finna do that. We ain't finna do that. Hold on, Sam. Don't start bringing it up now. Save it for Christmas Day because we're gonna bring all of them up there and we're just gonna be talking about them. Anyway, guys, I'm gonna cut it here for tonight. Just wanted to give a brief preview about about this game. You say this, but when the game happens and some BS happens, you go, I'm not leaving the room. I'm not gonna leave the room for that. I'm gonna be honest. I'm not gonna leave the room for that. Watch. You gonna watch some BS happen, and I'll tell you my exact reaction. Oh wow. So our defense just gonna give that up, huh? Anyway, guys, what Christmas movie? I'm legit not even going to do that. I'm not leaving the room. I'm not finna get frustrated, not going to get angry. If I'm leaving the room, it's actually to go get something. I'm not going to be like, we're done. This defense can't do anything. I'm not doing none of that, okay? Tune in the week afterwards on New Year's Eve. Now, New Year's Eve is different. New Year's Eve, we'll be back on that whole thing. But Christmas, I'm not doing that on Christmas, man. I'm not going to do my usual... I'm not going to do my usual things on Christmas. No. We're going to have a nice, chill Christmas stream watching the Ravens and Niners. The Ravens can get blown out by 40. It's not going to affect me. Nope, not. First of all, I've never done any property damage on these doors like that for that reason. So no, not gonna destroy anything. Not gonna do that. Like I said, Charles, you'll be in the comment section you'll be in the comment section with your negativity. I ain't gonna do that, bro. Abbas, yeah, I just heard about John Morant having the game-winning shot. I'm about to go watch the highlights of those, so I actually want to head on out because I've heard 2 people already tell me about that. Well, I'm almost about a year into watching you. I've enjoyed it as a fellow football fan. I appreciate that, man. I appreciate that. We already in the playoffs. The only thing that will ruin Xmas is Lamar getting injured. Yeah, that will ruin. Okay, you shouldn't have said that. Great, now I gotta be concerned, huh? But yeah, no, yeah, that would definitely ruin it. It would suck. But yeah, hopefully that's not the case. Anyway, guys, we pray for a win and we pray for no injuries. We'll just see how things go. But yeah, I appreciate you guys tuning in. Thank you so much for watching. I might be back with another stream this week. We'll just have to wait and see. But I'm going to cut it here for tonight. Appreciate you guys stopping by, knowing it's late, but you know it is what it is. And yeah, you all take care. Stay safe, and I'll see you guys later. Peace out.